Anyways, welcome to episode 2 of the Actual Nothing podcast.
You can get all the other stuff on the extended edition part of our DVD released later on this year.
That's not
deleted
part of it.
scenes. Yeah.
Anyways, girl problems, huh, Peter?
Hey,
We're not gonna go into
girls,
no.
man. Screw girls. I'm done with girls, man. Are you kidding?
What?
I'm not done with girls, but
That's a complicated topic. Everyone's been there. Everyone's dealt with it at
Everyone's
one point.
been in the hole before.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, girls are screw girls sometimes. Sometimes screw girls. I don't even know what to say.
Your romance life seems pretty perturbed right now.
Turbulent, huh?
Yeah, how's yours?
It's not turbulent.
Non-existent.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, you
No, it's
going out at all?
It's a self-imposed because right now I don't have the means to be a good SO. So
Ooh.
until I'm in a position where I feel I'm comfortable.
It's like a decent.
Yes, I have. It is one of the thoughts that keeps me awake at night.
For basic things you think about.
Yes.
1 a.m.
No. Yes, it is. It is. For being perfectly honest.
But I think that's a really good thought to have in general, though. No, I mean,
I'm just like,
we can be as real as you want about it. Some people want that because they got nothing. Because but the other part about it is I think a lot of people jump into stuff because it's readily available, and then you don't go through this sort of transformation of love. There's a lot of there's a sort of thing I heard about love where love sort of transforms itself through different phases where you have different stuff, you've got intimacy, you've got the sort of beginning novelty of it, you've got commitment. That's a different type of love idea. And I think when you're going into something, you really have to consider all of it, right? I mean, you don't have to, but if you're trying to be sort of conventional type of stuff or a conventional type of relationship, you got to consider it.
I'm just like a kind of calculating type person when it comes to interpersonal relationships. Not that I'm like a robot, but I just take into consideration things like my current standing. Yeah, I know.
It kind of seems like you think you're a robot.
Maybe I do think I'm a robot, but it's just the way I approach things. Oh, but that brings up an interesting topic that I don't think I've talked to you about this before.
What?
But have you guys heard of I think it's five languages of love?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah.
You know about that? There's
so it's
attention. There's
it's
quality time.
Acts
of service.
Let me think. There's touch, gifts, quality time, praise, which is words of affection, same thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Wait,
look
the
him
others.
up. Don't you have
I can just pull it up here.
Yeah.
But out of the hold on, I'll look this up and then we can think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've thought about this before when I first discovered what these 7 languages of love thing were, and I have already decided what mine were. So,
Peter, what do you think?
Oh, it's 5. Sorry, not 7.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I already know mine. I'm
you've thought about it already, right?
I'm attentiveness, for sure. Without a doubt.
It's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Probably, quality time.
Quality time.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
You can have more than one, right?
I think, I mean, as multidimensional as everyone is, you can have
I think my biggest 2 are definitely quality time and touch.
Yeah,
touch too.
I personally could give less of a shit if you gave me gifts. I'll be very appreciative of it, but it's not
exactly.
it's I mostly take it as a gesture of cool, but it's not like a thing that'll put me heads over heels. So I guess that means I'm not a gold digger.
Peter, did you say you were all about quality time as well?
Quality time and touch too. I think is probably second. Then, gifts, I could care. Compliments, nah.
Words of affirmation, a little bit lower, but it's not like I'm dying for attention.
But I think this is something to consider as well. Whether when you're receiving it or displaying it, what are the 2 that you would use?
Oh, in terms of a give or take.
It seems like when you receive it, you'd want quality time and then physical touch.
Yeah.
For something to receive. Yeah, that makes sense. we were talking about words.
We were just straight up talking about the 5 languages of love.
Yeah, but I
Was
think
it English, French,
Italian, Japanese.
Those are the romance.
No, romance languages are completely different. No, that's oh boy.
so.
Nihongo.
No, okay, so you had them right. What were they?
So the words of affirmation. So Dan, the 5 languages of love are not the romance languages.
There's only 4 then, right?
Nah, man.
Shut up! It's something completely different.
So the love languages, you got words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Like, which
So,
one makes you love someone the most?
We already talked about what ours were. What is yours, Dan?
and we were talking about whether or not
Let's save that part for after Dan tells us.
Okay,
so, like,
let me give you an example. Like, okay, no, like my language of love is like what is it? Attentiveness, quality time. Like, I'd rather have somebody's attention and time.
You don't have to speak directly.
Rather than their.
It'll be easier for me to just leave it.
I would rather have someone's attentiveness and time rather than like their physical, like gifts. Tangible gifts. You know, I don't care about gifts, but I care about time.
Yeah.
You know, like some people care about that. Some people want more gifts. Some people want like, oh, I want acts of service. Like, I want you to do this for me, and that will make. You know, that makes me really happy.
Words of affirmation are people like telling you that you did a good job, or like you look really good today, or whatever, that kind of thing. So
what makes you feel the most loved is basically like, you know, which one, if a girl was come up to you and be like, do any of those 5 things, give you a gift, give you attention, give you compliments, you know, which one was the best one, you know?
Ooh.
Basically, that's what it's saying.
Yeah,
whatever reflects their soul.
So you're entirely dependent on the other person. I feel like everybody has their own preferences of what they want.
What do you want? Would you rather have like compliments? Would you rather have gifts? Would you rather have someone just give you their attentiveness and
Would you rather like a physical, like touch?
Would you rather have someone just like touch you, caress you? Like, which one is your most like?
Dude, touch and caress me.
If I touch and caress you, does that make you feel anything? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's deep in that. It'd be a culmination of all the things that truly reflect what your soul.
All right, don't get deep on us. Tell us one of the 5.
So let's take this apart. So Dan is talking about something that reflects the soul, you know, and you want that out of someone. So, like, for instance, would you think that, like, so obviously I think words of affirmation are out of the question. I think the 2 that would make most for you out of this like contrived list is like quality time, because that would allow you more insight into what type of person they are, and then like acts of service.
I feel like you're a quality time type. No, not even acts of service.
Well, think about acts of service, because acts of service show like what type of person they are based on what they're willing to do. Like how.
Oh, maybe acts of service,
right? Like acts of service is important because it shows that they're either attentive.
I feel like you know what, Dan. Knowing you, I feel like you aren't as influenced by like words of kindness and compliments. I feel like when you see someone doing an act of service for you, you're a little more like, yeah, like this person's all about me, you know?
Right. It's about
and time and attentiveness.
It really takes into account like the actions speak louder than words. Sort of.
Yeah,
that's probably.
See, look, he even said yes.
So I would definitely say like both quality time and acts of service are like ways that you would. I think ways that would best like encompass what you feel based on this stupid ass list. Like, so I was
have to see the list.
The list is really dumb. It's just 5 like topics that sort of take like aspects of a relationship or of romance and make them quantitative so you can look at them.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about what I really appreciate in like my current relationship, and I think what I really appreciate is just like it's the communication. And I don't know how, like, where this fits into either of these. I really like the quality time we have, and that I don't have to, like, I don't feel sick of the quality time we have. Because I normally, like...
Communication is fit into, like, to either, like, words of kindness or, like, to attentiveness, I think.
Yeah.
Not specifically, like, acts or tangible items.
It's like a split.
It's weird. It's like I was looking through the list on this weird ass website trying to see like, you know, where does any sort of appreciation for communication fall into play, and like I think you know this is a good space to talk about like how the list really is really incomplete because it doesn't get into these little like mini subsets of what really make a relationship work, you know? And for me, like, I think one thing that I appreciate the most out of any single like platonic or romantic relationship is always communication. You know, one thing that makes everything work is just like, if you can talk and you can do something with someone else and be clear and be understanding at any given moment, that's like a good basis for anything.
I'm saying, man, the basis, like, is just like the hang, the vibe.
Right.
How is the vibe? How is the hang?
I guess the vibe,
I feel like that is very important compared to like attractiveness is one. Like I've been with people who like I've been very attracted to, and they've been very attracted physically to me.
Yeah.
But when we hang out, like
the personality is like
the personality is a big
sucks.
no. You know, it's like we don't fit together, and that's like very not attractive. So like, I could see where it's like if the vibe is right, if the hang is right, if the time is right, you know.
I feel like the list though is kind of just picking, like, obviously when it comes to relationships like that, there are so many tiny nuances that can make or break a thing. But I feel like with this list, they're kind of just picking like the 5 common denominators that can be applied to everything, minus the physical aspect. And
yeah. I think another part of
minus like physical attraction. Yeah.
Well, this is what I was thinking about. It takes like a lot of
Just a lot of what?
It takes a lot of assumptions into play. Like it takes into assumption that like every other part of your relationship is rock solid, and so that you're not trying to make up with any one of these things. And I think that's
why this is a super like shallow thing to like base everything off of. But
this is like, I think
it's like a book. There's a book written about it.
It's a book.
It's been a thing for a pretty long time. I remember hearing about it.
Let's see. It's a book by a guy named. It's the 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. It's a book. It's really popular. Like, I think with like lots of relationships, you have to consider like all those other little parts about it. I mean, I think so. If we were to comprise a list of things,
our own list of 5,
like 5 languages of romance or relationships that really make a relationship work. Like, how would we define what a language is in romance, and then also what would we put up for that sort of list?
Well, for that, we already talked that the 5 love languages of this list that we've already been talking about are if the relationship is already it's already going, right?
So we'd have to think about, like, does that mean that the relationship is in like a specific phase?
Yes. Well, I think for this love language thing, it's the phase where your relationship is already going. I think that
is it in a part where people are committed, or people are intimate?
I don't know. I just think it's at the point where you agree that you two are significant others, because I feel like the thing that you will find attractive about another person or in general will vary greatly depending on if you're already in the relationship versus when you're trying to get into a relationship. So that's like the difference between you and me right now. Like, I'm single as shit right now. So the things that I kind of am looking for at the beginning could be completely different than what you're looking for when you're already in a relationship for X amount of time, right?
And so I think that, like, this is an interesting place to be from someone who's like, from me who's now in a relationship, from you who's looking, from someone who's been in like multiple relationships. I think like being in those types of relationships are important too, because like when you're with a person for so long, it allows you to like use them as a reflection board about who
dude.
you are.
Honestly, I feel like it was bad because I was in my glory days in college when I was going out with someone. Like I could have been like, not to be like a dick, but like I could have been like having more fun, you know?
Yeah, but I guess like you know, it's like the grass is always greener on the opposite side. Like there are always people considering that like, oh, being in a relationship that's steady, stable.
It is always greener. Yeah. When I was in a relationship, I always thought it'd be better to be single. Yeah. And then when I was single, I'm like, I really want a girlfriend now.
There's always things on the opposite side that seem more attractive because you're taking for granted things that you get normally, right? The question that we posed was like, so say this list is faulty. If we were to like make our own list, it would have to be like, you know, what do we consider like a language of love, and then how do we And then what would be like our select group of things that you think would be important, or things that you would like favor in terms of like how it works. I think for me, if I'm thinking about like what's a language of love, it's like,
Italian.
Huh? It's French. It's just French. Nothing else.
That's Italian.
That's Italian, SpongeBob.
I think it's got to be.
Is mayonnaise a love language? No, Dan. Horseradish is not a love language
The name
either.
of this episode is mayonnaise a love?
Is mayonnaise a love language?
That's going to be the name of this episode.
I get to draw a shitty MS Paint of that, so I'm
Yeah,
cool with that.
we're gonna be using.
Dude, listen, man. Like, there's so many. Okay, dude, let me tell you something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Out of my experience, man, like I've talked to like a bunch of like freaking chicks, and a lot of them are like so many. They're just like they don't want to have like anything. They just want to like have fun,
Hook up, and that's it.
So this is
dude, and like low-key, I'm kind of sad because like here's me, I'm like. I got nothing to lose. I'm just vibing with whatever happens. And I'm like, all right, like, I want to have like someone to hang out with. That's the biggest thing. I just want someone to hang out with, dude. Like, cause like when I had a girl, like, I just hang out with someone,
Yeah.
You have someone to take on dates and it's like, like you're going to be the dude, every dude wants to be the dude.
The guy. Yeah.
But then like sometimes like, not sometimes, but most of the time, like chicks don't even want that. They just want like, oh, like, well, like, like, thanks for this thing. And like now, like,
See ya.
yeah, dude, I'm just like, what the heck, man? It's like
Changing dudes faster than they change socks.
I'm saying, dude, like, I don't know, man. And I'm not a big Tinder. I don't have any of those things or anything.
I've thought about it so many times, and
Like,
I just I can't bring myself to do
like,
it.
I was very close,
can't do
but
it.
like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not the same as just meeting someone like a little more organically. Even if it's like meeting someone I feel like that's more organic than meeting someone like through Tinder, because it's like,
but I think that's
then it's not planned, you're just like, but I don't know, it's whatever. Not to knock against anyone that uses it.
So we talked about this with Eliza though, because she was saying like, for a lot of sorority, because I asked her the question like, what's the allure of like a frat guy? Like, why would anyone?
Because he's a bro, dude.
Well, the thing that she said was really interesting. It was like there's like a frat guy sort of embodies a frat guy embodies like no personal responsibility in that regard, because in that stage of your life there are a lot of girls who just aren't looking for anything in particular.
Yeah.
And she put it in a really nice way, saying that it's like you get the feeling of a relationship, but without having the commitment and without having the full real experience of it. You get the fun parts about like a really short relationship.
Yeah.
And so
Like a summer fling type deal.
and it's short. There's not a lot of strings attached. There's like very little personal responsibility is what she said. And I think it's really interesting because it talks about how like how we react in a culture right now that's like a lot quicker. Everything's digital, like Tinder being a prime example of that, or other things like OkCupid. There's like dating websites.
Farmers Meet.
Dude, I'm saying Farmers Meet, Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle, yeah, that's a good one.
Christian Mingle. Yeah. Let's get on that.
There's like a Black People's Meet.
BlackPeopleMeet.com.
Or I think it was Farmers Only. That was the one that I was looking at.
Oh, yeah, Farmers Only.
Yeah, well, of course it happens. I lived in Urbana in the middle of nowhere with cornfields for 4.5 years. Of course that's going to be a thing.
It's spelled like this, right?
The juice.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Good one.
I think that leaves space to talk about like how you like to communicate with the significant other. Say you just started a relationship, you're in the immediate novelty phase of a relationship.
The puppy love stage.
What do you like most about your significant other in terms of like how they interact with you?
I gotta admit though, sometimes
What?
I gotta admit, sometimes you just like someone just because they're a girl. Like,
What?
No, you gotta admit, like,
What do I have to admit?
hold on.
They're not a homunculus.
Let me try to
so it's
explain
good.
this a little better. Like, sometimes I'd be like, oh man, like, do I really miss that person? Or do I really miss just like having somebody?
But that's what I'm saying. This idea of what a language is takes into account like separate ideas of expression in terms of like, do I want a specific feeling or do I want a specific type of situation? And those are things that need to be considered in like a post or present digital age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, let me pour up a drink for that.
Yeah.
He's a beast, man.
Well, okay.
Give me a second, bro.
I'm going to.
Gosh.
what's your first?
Well, okay. Well, here's my issue, right?
Yeah.
I feel like at this stage in my life, I can't give any real life input because I haven't been in a relationship yet. So for you and Peter, you guys have experience for that.
But that doesn't. So for anyone that doesn't have
either.
like
I want more of this,
personal experience in a relationship, it doesn't forfeit your say in the conversation because you're in a position where you have a less tainted idea of what or not tainted, but like a more idealistic idea of what a relationship could be because it hasn't been like tainted by, say, a past relationship gone.
Okay.
Right?
That's a good take on that.
It's good.
So I think your input is really important, being from that side of the relationship that where you haven't necessarily been in a relationship. Peter said it best, there's a lot of people who go through that. They haven't been kissed until senior year or whatever. It doesn't matter, everyone experiences things at their own rate. It's fine, but so for you, if you were to get into a casual relationship with someone, it's all novel, nothing's too serious yet. What's something that you would want or you would appreciate out of that person off the bat? Something personal that you'd like that would make sense, not from this list.
Okay, I can come up with something for that. It kind of ties back in, for me personally, it kind of ties back into, or I would say it's a subset of communication.
Yeah.
But for me, it would be honesty.
Yeah.
So when I say that, it's not necessarily that they have to spill the beans on what they're doing. For me, I imagine that I wouldn't be the kind of helicopter SO where I need to keep tabs on every little thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
But for the things that they do decide to tell me, I would want them to be honest about it.
So this is kind of interesting. What do you expect? What do you expect them to tell you?
I would say I don't expect them to tell me anything.
Yeah.
If they have problems that they want to come forward to, or that they want to come forward with to me about, sure, but I'm not going to goad them into doing that. Because at that point I feel like that's self-fulfillment and I'm not about that.
Yeah.
But if they do decide to tell me something, I would want them to be perfectly honest. If they decide to leave details out about it that I don't know about or that they don't want to tell me, okay. But the things that they do tell me about, I would want them to give me the facts and not bend it a certain way.
So you want a sort of clarity in situation.
Yes.
Okay. That's
which is why I said it's like a subset of communication.
So it's less about it's less about having honesty in every facet of what you need. It's more about what they decide is important to tell you.
Yes.
You want honesty.
I don't want every little thing out of them. I just want the things that they decide to give to me for that to be full and complete.
So that requires a bit of personal maturity on the other side as well.
Yes.
A person needs to be super mature in order to be honest with themselves too, and we all know it. Being honest with yourself is one of the most difficult things to do in any situation.
Yeah,
because the one person that's easiest to lie to is yourself.
You are your greatest ally and enemy.
And you see that a lot with motivations too. I don't know if you ever meet people who they have all this talk about oh, I want to do this and this, and I'm going to do this, and it's all talk, but they actually don't follow through on the things they're doing because it's all talk, and all they're looking for is personal validation from everyone else. You feel? And so I think so. This particular need in any sort of relationship, and this falls for mostly anything, requires reciprocal maturation and situational clarity. So so wait, let's move to you now. Being in a similar situation,
hey,
what do you think? So if you were getting into a novel relationship, and it's you're comfortable, you trust each other to make decisions together. Nothing's too serious. What do you think would make you most happy to for them to do for you? Or what is something that you would appreciate the most? Aaron likes.
I said honesty, which was a subset of communication.
I would say it's more clarity, but honesty and clarity.
Clarity.
And I like to take apart the idea of communication because that's such a huge thing to talk about. So like anything in specific or personal that you think is really important towards your budding relationship for you.
Ooh. I think the girl's not
a dummy.
Yeah? So how do you mean dummy? Do you mean like street smarts, book smarts, like...
I mean like they're able to have ideas that aren't just like straight up.
Whoops.
Okay. All right. You mean restricted? Dan, no. Okay, Dan. Let me tell you something. No. For real.
Like there's too many.
Okay. No.
Like,
No,
you
dude.
can't talk.
No.
You know that song "Lights Out" by J. Cole?
No,
dude.
Like, lights, please.
Dude, no.
Wait. What's up?
This is like saying like the love language is kind of like assuming that you find a girl that like you're really into. So this is assuming that she's not like a complete idiot. So like this is saying like, hold on. This is saying like a girl that, you know, you really like, you know, she's into you too, or a guy that you really like.
2018.
I don't know how you roll. No, I'm just kidding. But like, say someone you like, and you're like, what is the best way like that you feel like loved or affection by them? Is it if they buy you something, or is it if they like just give you their attention? Is it if they like give you compliments, like, or if they just give you physical touch? What is the best way that someone that you're like into, like if you really wanted like to feel like really like affection by them or loved by them or like really like, you know, like cared about by them, what is the best way you think you would feel it, you know? Because everyone feels it differently.
And it doesn't necessarily have to.
Because my mother told me she was like acts of service. So my dad doing the dishes and cooking dinner like every day, that's an act of service, you know? So she really feels like, oh, like this guy loves me because he'll cook dinner. You know, he'll do something that's like of service to me that like, you know, for me, you know. Whereas like, I'm like, you know, when I've ever had a girlfriend, I'm like, I just want attention, you know? So like if someone gives me their attention, I'll just be like, you know, like that really means a lot to me.
But I also think that Dan, you touched on this earlier when you said anything that reflects like the soul, right? Anything that reflects like their true inner self. And so I think that plays into like a sense of clarity and honesty as well. But I also think it's different because like, and we talked about how that plays into like quality time or acts of service because it really gets you. It shows.
No, but like let's
no. Well, I'm taking that all out of it. I'm taking this all out. There's no.
Let Dan answer though. Like if you had let me say the scenario. Hold on before.
You have to be aware that we're not using the shitty original list.
No. Like but like say you have a girl though. Like say you have this girl. You're really into her, right? Before you say anything, hold on. You're really into her, right? She's into you. If you were like, man, like,
well, at that point, I even need to prioritize any of these things if I really.
No. It's really a preference though, because everyone has a preference. Like everyone's different, you know. Like everyone is different in this regard. So like, what would make you feel the most? Like, what makes you feel the happiest? Basically, like, do you care about tangible items? Like, if a girl got you like a watch, would you care about that more as if she just gave you like a lot of her like attention and time, you know, like which one is more important to you? Like what out of these, you know,
you have to prioritize one of them.
Well, like you don't have to, but like, you know, generally like as humans, we do, you know,
I'd say it's more like they're all in the list. They're all completely viable things that are a part of the
they're all things that we enjoy as the human experience.
But
right?
you tend to fall towards one or two of these categories more than the other.
Example, I don't care if I get like, if you didn't get me an item for like a birthday or Christmas, I wouldn't care as long as you like gave me like some attention. That I kind of care about that more than like tangible items. But everyone's different, you know? So like, it's like, what do you prefer the most, you know, out of like, if you were to receive like, you know, something.
So it's not saying that he only cares about attention.
Exactly.
If he gets gifts or acts of service,
I will definitely appreciate that. But
they're
like,
not at the top of his list.
Like attention is definitely the most like important thing to me, you know? But what's the most important thing to you is what I'm asking, like, you know?
Remember, it's a relationship that has already been established.
Yeah, it's not like this person doesn't.
He might be coming from the same background as me, though.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess we're trying to caution you away from like you're not just meeting this person and you're not trying to sift people out of the pool that you want. It's more like you're in this, you know that they're not going to be like stupid. and you're trying to sort of discern what things they do that make you.
It's not what you're actively looking for. It's what you
say you got a girl
have as a baseline.
What makes me the most happy? Her
pressuring Dan so hard about
the most.
We can think about it too. Like I've got.
You don't need to have an answer right now.
Complimenting you, her buying you a watch, her giving you like all of her attention. Let me get a piece of paper.
No, wait, because I said that we're not using the list.
No, let me see a piece of paper.
Dude, how do you expect me to prioritize something off this list without me seeing the list?
Let me see.
We're just coming up with our own things.
Come on, trust me.
Like the thing that I said wasn't even part of the list.
No, we're not even using the fucking list anymore. That's the big deal. If this list like takes too many assumptions into account for what a love language is, and then we don't even get to like any sort of list on the internet that sort of is showcasing it doesn't really give you an idea of what discerns a language.
Here, let me.
And so we've been trying to figure out like if we had to create any sort of language based on things that we prioritize in a relationship, like what would it be?
Let me rephrase the question. Okay, it's what do you find attractive minus physical looks and minus personality.
Okay, Dan, here are the 5
those two
things.
Can't be answers.
Wait,
these are the 5 things.
Those are the 2 things.
No, I mean, like, that's why we're trying to be a little bit more...
Look at these things and say... Okay, no. Here.
Let me see the list.
Totally closed off. You have... Say you...
Tangible items, acts of service, attention, words of kindness,
but I thought we were getting away from the list.
Well, okay, hold on. We'll just let him establish this first.
Okay.
Well, how am I supposed to pick a preference without the list?
No.
Okay, Dan, pick from the list.
Go from the list.
Go for the list.
Pick something from the list.
Alright, tangible items isn't too important.
Okay.
It doesn't give me something, whatever.
Okay, cross it out. So that's not important to you. Okay, there's 4 left.
Acts of service. So that's like doing the dishes.
Rubbing your back,
like
cooking you
doing
dinner.
things for you.
Doing things that like are really kind, not because you ask them, but because they know you.
Doing your laundry.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool.
Okay, put a check by it so you know you like it.
I like
attention and time.
Dishes, cooking
that one part.
Attention and time. You care about a girl giving you a lot of attention and time.
What do you like?
He's filling in the bubbles
it's
at the front of
the ACT.
All right,
like
attention.
That one part of the G area that you don't really like.
Yeah, so do you like somebody like who's always checking in on you, or if you left them to do their own thing? Okay, so you don't really care.
You're
that much
probably
about
not an attention and time person then. A girl like I don't know. I feel like that's on like people are.
Well, what kind of attention are they giving me?
Like
just like giving you the time of day. Like they'll forsake doing something on their own to
like if you want to hang, if you want to do a hang, they're always down to hang. Stuff like that. You know, like they're always down for quality.
If you tell them something, they're always giving you the utmost attention.
Yeah,
100%.
Oh yeah, that's good.
They're paying attention.
All right, I'll put check.
Okay, keep it in mind.
Words of kindness,
like compliments, basically affirmation. Yeah, like
you did a good job. You look good
you
today.
You look great.
Like
you look good today.
Yeah, that's good too.
Okay,
or physical touch. That's another thing.
Put number 5 for the least of these.
That's good.
We're doing a live BuzzFeed
thing right now. Physical touch. That's like
choose
okay. So if you had to rank these, you know, which one's like the most important to you, basically. You know, like which one? Like if you were to go out with a girl or something, and you were like, you know, like this is like the number one thing that I really want from her. Like which one is number one? You know. Because everyone's different. JB, what's yours?
I want to suck on toes.
All right. That wasn't one of the options. Here. That wasn't one of the options, but it can be.
Acts of service, attention, words of kindness. Ooh, this is hard.
If you want to think about it, I've got one that I've like.
Okay, honestly, no, real talk. Mine is like time and attention. What's yours?
I don't want to go off this list. I hate this shitty
list. What is off the list though?
You gotta go off the list.
We were going
off the list.
Why are you telling me to go off the list if you're not going to go off the list?
I'm going to go off the list.
Because we already talked about the list.
Because we talked about getting off the list already.
Well, then what are you telling me to do?
Because you didn't join in on that part.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
but they're all important. Yeah, except for the tangible items.
Well, that's why we said they're like all 5 of them are part of a relationship, anyways. But we tend to gravitate towards one or the other.
Honestly, like of these 4, though, like come on, let's stick to this just for a second. Dan, I want to know what Dan's is. I really want to know. Like, what's your number 1? Give me your number 1.
Acts of service, attention, words of kindness, physical touch.
I'm real curious now.
Okay, if you want to think about it, I've got one that I wanted to talk about.
What's yours?
Give you some time.
Don't you talk about dirty stuff now,
to go
boy.
off the, I want to, but I won't. If we're gonna go off, I want to go off the list. Aaron says honesty. The one that I've always liked is like patience and like grace in any situation. Understand.
Patience is big.
Because think about it.
I feel like that falls into attention and time, though.
It doesn't though, because attention and time doesn't really work in the sense that like patience and grace are more about situation.
Dude, patience is like it's based on a scale of time, though.
It's literally not. It's because it's more about like whether it's more about like how you deal with situations and whether or not they're willing to take into account how you deal with that into their daily life. For instance, if somebody knows that I don't like this or that and I deal really poorly with it, and they know what happens and they're willing to stick around and help me through it, that's a really important aspect of a relationship. And that's based on like how they consider.
That seems like, but that seems like attentiveness.
That's not, well, no, but this isn't talking about attentiveness. This is talking about quality time. Quality time is different from attentiveness. If we're going to be really pedantic about it, So like I'm considering patience and grace as being part of a subset of attention that's more like. It's more willing to deal with situations that are out of everyone's control and trying to help people grow into things that are better.
Dude, that's real specific, but low-key, I just want the attention.
That's fine. If you want, that's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Give me that. Give me that pen.
I want to know what Dan, I want to know, like, even if it ends up going into one of those subcategories, I want to know what's like is most prioritized by you the most. Aaron, what's prioritized by you?
I already said
mine. Honesty.
Mine would have been honesty for that.
That's not on the list.
We're not going off the damn.
Okay, no, okay. They're not. But like, if you were to go off this list, like, which one would you?
Okay, Dan, you can think about that. Let's recenter this
up.
conversation.
Okay, because this has been off for at least 10 minutes now.
ignoring any of these damn list things, right?
All right.
How about what are
go off the list?
Shut up. What would be? I'm trying to simplify the question. What are the let's say three main things you find most attractive in a partner?
Most attractive.
Minus physical attraction.
Minus body.
Physical attraction.
You said looks. I said body. God.
Physical attraction.
Important.
Well, okay, hold on. Shut up. Physical attraction is the like absolute baseline of any relationship, right?
Yeah. 5 or above.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Sure. But minus physical attraction.
It can't be like putting people on some sort of like
minus
physical attraction.
Minus looks. Minus looks.
What list is objective?
Fuck the list.
We're not using the list.
Okay,
We've been off the list for at least 12 minutes.
We're on a completely different conversation now.
All right,
what are our? Okay, we're gonna go through this. What are the 3 things that we find most attractive in a partner minus looks? Okay.
Okay. Can we?
Okay, you want me to go first so that we can get this down? Number 1 for me is no. Minus that.
But you're already in the relationship.
Hold on.
No,
Yeah.
it could be what you're looking for if you're not.
What you're looking for besides physical.
What are the top 3 things you're looking for?
Go ahead.
Want me to go? Okay.
The floor is yours.
My number 1, sense of humor. Sense of humor is huge for me. That's number 1.
That's true.
Number 2 would still be communication.
Hold on. I gotta say though, based off sense of humor, does that include like just general chemistry with somebody? Like, let me rephrase it. Actually, does that include like not having awkwardness? Basically, is that included in self? Because if you meet someone, like I've had it where like someone
like if they find really offensive shit funny.
No, like we're. As in like the general like vibe and conversation, like I've had it where like we're both physically attracted to each other, but the vibe is really awkward. So like that makes it unattractive.
That doesn't fall into humor for me.
Is that not humor? Because like
that doesn't fall into humor.
No, because that's chemistry. That's vibe.
So chemistry and vibe is its own thing as opposed to humor.
Because humor is like
that's like. Okay, you can go on ahead about humor, but that's like a very important thing for me. But go on. I didn't know if that was
when I say a sense of humor, it's strictly comedy, like what they find, what you find funny. That's it. That's straight up that.
Yeah.
So that's like number 1 for me. Number 2 would still be communication. Okay. I've already talked to JP about this before. But like,
I understand.
I like having one-on-one conversations with people. And if somebody can't keep up,
that includes like honesty, though, doesn't it? Like,
well, ignoring the honesty part, I just like somebody who can hold a conversation. If they can talk, if I can go on a date with them. and they don't
chemistry.
And they
that's
a part of chemistry, right?
Yeah.
These don't have to be all like standalone
general
topics.
awkwardness.
Right.
So sense of humor, communication, and then number 3 for me, I would say they care about their physical health, and so not necessarily looks, but somebody who they care about their physical well-being. So they like to work out. They watch what they eat, stuff like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So not necessarily looks.
That falls into like bodily hygiene.
Yeah.
Dude, that's actually very.
Those are my 3.
I think that's similar to me because my 3 I think would be very close to yours. Number 1 would be just the general vibe and chemistry.
Okay.
So like yeah, you can get with someone pretty, but as long as the conversation is really fun all the time and very chill, very loose, relaxed. That's important to me. Very important to me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of situations where you can get with someone who's dumb, but like you don't have like they're not on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
Wavelength is the word I like to use when it's like that thing. Number 2, not only welfare. It's not just welfare about themselves, but welfare about me. As in, like they actually, if I say, like hey, my sister has a softball tournament, or like I'm going to like this exam for something, like I will help you achieve your goals, So it's like, that's very important to me, having like a general sense of like attentiveness, but like also like very, how do I say it? Like very, conscientious and, caring.
Yeah, I think conscientious.
And caring about like someone else's, like that means a lot, cause it's like if you're going into like you're trying to apply for this, like I will help you, like I will not hang out with you if it means you need to study for this, or like I will help you study for this if it means that you will get into this. Like that's really important to me too. So like general care for your welfare too, that's huge. So chemistry and that. And then I think it's just like okay, and look, low-key, this isn't the most important, but like I think I should be mentioned dietary preference.
Okay, no, that's a thing. Like,
because
there are people. There like some vegans don't like to date non-vegans.
Okay, because like after dating a vegetarian man, let me tell you, dude.
I told you that from the beginning.
Dan Tabor knew it was a bad idea from the start.
Well, I mean, like,
but like, no, let me tell you though, like. I've never had. No, I'll let you go after this. But like, dude, I've never had so many carbs in like a sitting before, man. But like, that's it.
It plays into how important like food and culture are tied together.
There you go.
Like food culture and how we eat together and what types of food we eat together are really important decisions we make in any sort of community.
Dude, eating's fucking huge.
No, just think about it. Do you remember that time we all decided to hang out? We went to Red Robin together. We just got burgers. That was super like on the fly. We weren't thinking about it, but we did it. And the fact that we were able to go to the same place, order similar food that we all liked, and have a good time together. It would be like remiss to say that we're not considering the food being part of that whole thing. Because we all decided on Red Robin as a locus for our hang. And so like I think that's a really big point. Like dietary preferences and how we interact with each other because of those are such a big indication of the culture and of the personality we're looking into. And there's just to sort of plug a different thing. It's sort of like I had a friend who took a class on that sort of thing, like culture and food, like especially, and you see it a lot with like Asian cultures, like Filipinos are really into their food.
Yeah.
Like the potluck is one of the most like it's essential to Filipino living, and it's so communal, and it really just shows it's indicative of how communal the entire culture is and how hospitable everyone is.
By the way, if you want to go to a type of ethnic party and you want to eat a lot and have a lot of leftovers, go to a Filipino party.
That's what I'm saying. But so that's a really good point. It's dietary preference, like because
it's not like make or break, obviously, but like
of course, but it's a big.
But it does play like a huge play in like what you can eat. Like,
how you spend your time together, where you spend your time, what restaurants you go to, what type of things you like making together, right? So it's a big deal, and I agree with that. I think that's a.
Now, what are your 3 things, Japes?
Mine? So I think like the one thing that's always going to be part of anyone's big three if they had to pick is always chemistry. Because that's sort of like
I'm saying,
because the vibe is
so big.
And I can't stress out enough of like what I have now. Like, talking to Kelby, the vibe is always there. We always have like a similar chemistry way.
Dude, I feel like vibe just plays into so many if you think about it, like
it's essential though.
Vibe is such a generic word. It ties into wavelength, it ties into like but like, you know what, if you're on the same page as someone, like you guys both know what's up. You guys could be thrown into the most awkward scenario ever and you guys will find a way through because you're just like, all right, like we know what's happening, like we know what's going on. But like if you like, okay, for example, me and my high school girlfriend, like sometimes she'd be thrown into like some scenarios where she would just feel awkward, and it's like I don't know what to do about, like I don't know how to help you if you feel awkward, if I don't, it's just like now it's just awkward for everyone, so it's kind of like,
okay, so chemistry is
huge, dude. So I think that might be like,
that's probably essential.
That's probably like my number one. Yeah. Right? Like
the other thing, the two other more specific things that I had to put down. The second one is the willingness to adapt to situations. I think
is that not chemistry though?
No, it's not, because what I consider willingness to adapt is, for instance, say you're in an uncomfortable situation and you really need to, like, there's no way out of it. Like, how are you going to get through it? Are you going to like bitch and moan about it? You're going to be like really annoying about it. Let's take a common example. Let's say like you and your significant other are hanging out with like a group of people, and say like, this isn't your girlfriend or your boyfriend's like cup of tea. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't like all the people there. They're like, how they respond to the situation and their overall chillness with the situation is really important to me. Because it shows a good deal of like personal restraint and maturation. It shows that they're willing to take it as it comes and not be like so strict on their own personal things that they throw a tantrum about it. Okay. That's really important for me. And the third thing is it's sort of tied to this, but it's a little bit different because of the scale. They're how they respond to stressful situations. So like not necessarily uncomfortable, but like, for instance, if you're in a situation where you're having an existential crisis or something's going really wrong, like how do you respond? Are you calm? Like, do you freak out about it? Do you take it in stride? Do you consider all your options and act pragmatically? That's something that I think is indicative of great control. And that's what I like to see in any sort of person that I want to like be associated with, is that. Because that just shows that they'd be able to handle anything, whether you're at a bad point in your life, whether you're at a good point. They're like willing to roll with the punches, and that's I think that's pertinent to every sort of aspect of life. These two things especially just become like ultimately important when dealing with things together as a couple, right? And I mean, essentially when you're in a relationship, you're both partners in experiencing things. And so if you find someone who can do these two things, I think like you're already ahead of the game. Like this doesn't necessarily make you like better than everyone else. But I think it prepares you in a good way for things to come, because nothing is ever so easy or so like smooth, right? You have to deal with so many bumps in the road all the time, and so that's the two things that I would consider what I'm looking for necessarily in a relationship at any given moment.
I think having bumps in your general lifeline of what's going on with your life, so that goes in line with your ambitions. Yeah. So I think it's important for you to be on the same wavelength in what your ambitions are.
So that's number one for you?
If you're looking at how you're trying to build your career, how you're trying to overcome challenges, you should have a similar outlook in that you're always trying to...
That's really important too.
Do better. You're always trying to overcome challenges.
Yeah, that's really...
So that's your number one?
I think if you see the girl trying to overcome a challenge, and then you can see that she's doing everything, like what you said, JP. They're trying to weigh their options. They're trying to do what's best. Yeah. And then, that's probably one of the most important things. I think ambition.
Ambition. And I think that's really important in general, too. Like
having similar levels of ambition is important.
Yeah, exactly. Or not even like where your ambitions lie, but the sort of motivation to have ambition and aspirations, right?
Exactly. I think everybody's got their own respective grind.
Right.
But their grind's got to be an exponential curve.
Yeah,
so it's got to go. Curve,
you can't plateau.
So is that your number one? Like the drive
I would say ambition and aspiration, right?
Is that your number one, Dan?
Dude, I don't know how to define number one.
Okay, whatever. What are your other two?
That's something that's important.
Sure. I would say, like, because you mentioned it first, we'll put it down. I just put chemistry down because that's like in there for everyone.
Yeah.
Two more.
I think like, but so to take with this, have you ever heard the sort of idea that, people going into the NBA, or once you get to a certain level of playing a certain sport, you don't play with people who are worse than you are anymore? Because the people that you play around with or that you surround yourself with, like, they inevitably affect how you perform in general.
Yeah.
So if you surround yourself with people who aren't better than you or who aren't at the same like level and idea of ambition, you're only bringing yourself.
That's what happened to me in college for volleyball.
Like,
well,
it's a big deal.
You played volleyball with shitters?
Well, so for me, there were 3 teams, right? So there was a ones team, the twos teams, and 3 teams. 1 being the best, 3 being not the best, right?
Yeah.
Threes were kind of a lot of people that were like pretty laid back, but they didn't want to necessarily put it 100% in their game all the time. And whenever I played with them, sometimes I could see that in their play, and that in turn would reflect the way that I played, so that I wouldn't be putting in 100%, right? But then sometimes when I'd be scrimmaging or playing with the ones or the twos guys, they go a lot harder because they want to win. And for that reason, they're in the ones or the twos, right? They want to put in the work. They have the drive to succeed at that level of play. And the same thing, I noticed that when I played with those guys, my performance playing would also increase because I'm surrounded by people who have, it's sort of a hive mind mentality where if everyone's playing at their hardest, I also want to play at that level because otherwise I'm not going to look good, right?
It's in the same vein that like being in competition with people who are better than you forces you to be better. And so like you never want to be in a situation like it comes back to that conversation of like, do you want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small pond or a small fish in a big pond?
I want to be a small pond and a big fish.
Put me in a whale, bro. No, but so like, and I think that there's pros and cons to both, but one of the pros of being a small fish in a big pond is that in order to gain notoriety in the pond, you have to sort of work your way through that, and you need to be like personally responsible. It really forces you into certain sects of maturation,
perseverance.
Yeah, the sort of perseverance and the determination to get there, right? Yeah. That's all part of like having that inward motivation and ambition, right?
There we go.
Yeah, so I think
that's probably the important part,
and I think that's like it's something that we need to consider, that everyone should consider, not only in their relationships, but also like in general. Like I don't like I keep my select group of friends pretty small, just because like I keep myself surrounded with people who I know are pushing, and I want that because I want to know that the people I'm associating with are pushers and are triers and like aren't afraid to like fail, because you gotta at some point. And it's better to keep pushing for things rather than just to like be stagnant and become a fucking degen. Like, that's the worst. And so,
all right, Dan, what are the other 2 things that you find attractive in a person?
Or one other thing.
Or one other.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We already said that's the baseline. We already know that that's super important for literally everybody. So that's a cop out.
It's basically becoming chemistry at this point.
Yeah, that's chemistry.
Yeah, okay.
Physical and ambition.
You don't have anything else other than those that you could think of off the top of your head? You don't have to. I mean,
and then if they're able to be on the same wave, that's like chemistry, right?
Chemistry, yeah.
So if you're able to talk to them about like whatever,
sure, yeah,
we'll go
that
with
makes
that.
sense. But
looks.
We already said that that's like everybody agrees that that's like one of the most important things.
And that, just like chemistry, is so subjective to like personal traits that like it's almost unfair to include it in a list of things.
Looks and physical attraction is just a thing that's so hardwired into humans that just doesn't count because that's something that instinctually we all want,
right?
Well, it still counts.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying if we were making a top 3 minus that, we were trying to come up with that. But
I think we came up with a lot of really good things, and I really think that it shows just like kind of the frivolity of having a small 5 pronged list. And I mean, I guess to be fair, like you can't really say much about anything pertaining to the list because we haven't read the fucking book. you know.
Oh, it's a whole book?
It's a book.
Yeah, that's what
called The Five Love Languages by Gary
Chapman.
Dr. Gary Chapman, excuse me. Yeah. But you know, but for me, just the entire premise of creating 5 love languages seems almost like it betrays the notion, the complicated and sophisticated notion of love entirely. But maybe he goes into that, and it's something that I should probably read for fun at some point, right? But I think that having these points, like talking about things that are really important besides like the baseline things that we consider important, it brings us into like the other point of how do we experience love, in that, you know, these all for me tie into into a developing intimacy, you know, like conscientiousness, like Peter said, is super important in developing intimacy with someone. You're not asking about their family or being super concerned about their daily life all the time, or what they do or anything, if you're not already intimate with someone, right?
Yeah.
Or something like, you know, how you watch someone adapt, or how you watch someone respond to stressful situations, or seeing their ambitions, or being part of their humor. That's all stuff that you gain through intimacy, right? And that's all stuff that sort of plays into the place of intimacy. So I want to use this time to talk now about if we're to move into like a large encompassing phase of commitment. What do we think about that?
Cool.
Because I have an idea of what commitment feels like, and I want to ask you guys, and maybe when Peter gets back, what he thinks about commitment, because that's a really like in-depth topic to consider. You know, like so at first glance, you know, I'm catching you off guard, but what's like the general idea of what commitment means in a long-term like relationship?
I will tell you right now, from my perspective, I just straight up don't have an answer for that.
Yeah,
because I'm not
Italian.
I would obviously have a much more solid answer to give if I had any experience in that, but
so
because if I was like the hypothetical situation, if I did have that.
Yeah, if I'm asking you to speculate.
For me, commitment would just boil down to my partner telling me that they're or reaffirming with me that not that I'm the, how do I say this? Not that I'm the goal, but I am strictly the only thing that they're concerned about. Not the only thing. I don't know how to phrase this. It's like,
in terms of love interest.
Yes, I am just the sole person that they're they're all any effort that they're putting towards not every aspect of their life, but they're putting in an equal amount of effort into building a relationship towards me that I am towards them.
Makes sense.
But like I said, I don't actually have any idea what that's like, so take what I say with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I mean, commitment comes in weird. I think commitment doesn't have to be like tied to any sort of time parameter.
Well, it's also in different stages too, because so Peter, he's gone through multiple relationships in varying time or lengths of time, or like a sense of commitment that'll be viewed differently for somebody who's dated people through high school, right?
Yeah.
For me, I kind of skipped the whole. Maybe I haven't skipped it because I haven't got there yet, but I didn't go through the whole date people for a short amount of time thing, right?
Yeah.
At least the way that I view it in the current trajectory of my life, I might jump straight into the I'm looking for strictly serious type relationships.
And that's okay. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But just from my point of view, I haven't either yet or will not go through the short dating phase. And so because of that, my view of commitment might be skewed differently than somebody like you or Peter, who's gone through X amount of relationships where you have experienced different times of period that might change how you view that.
Yeah.
So
I guess what do you think about like commitment? You know, like how would you consider to make this a more specific question? When you consider commitment in a relationship, like what's something that what's like the first thing you think about?
I want them banging other dudes.
Okay, sure. So same thing as me, right?
So kind of
that's
like,
messed up. Yeah.
So kind of to elaborate,
that's what a commitment is, right?
It's like, well, it's kind of like it either comes out of like a strong trust about what this relationship is and what your ideas of what the relationship should be, or like a sort of sense of fear that like over time intimacy and attraction wane because of oversaturation. Like you take things for granted so much because you're with that person all the time that there's less of a there's less of a funness to it, less of a spontaneity because you see them in one light and take everything else for granted.
Ooh.
I think that part of commitment's it's like a thing that a lot of people, myself included, like will go through or have gone through. I think when I was dating my previous girlfriend, a lot of it was like that, where it was considering like, how long does this sort of thing last before it falls into like a sort of like game. It becomes more of a mental game about keeping someone with you for any sort of sake. And I think that commitment in itself is such a hard thing to think about because you fall into an existential crisis about what it means to devote in a sense like devote your entire life to like being partnered with a single person. And for me, I think if I were to consider that, I would have to consider like a very strong friendship before anything else, right? I think what keeps things going is like adaptation, but then also friendship, right? Because like if you think about how like and we're all like for the cast, we're all like non-romantic platonic friends. We've been friends for like ever, for a long time. And I think like one of the reasons why we've been able to just be friends for so long and not drift too far apart or go to a point where we're not able to come back is because like we've been able to adapt, but we've been also able to just like be friends over the longest period of time and like come together over like anything, right? And I think that's such an important thing for like romantic relationships too. What's better than what's better than being friends with like this person you share an intimate bond with, right? I
feel like that's a make or break for people in long distance relationships.
Yeah. I think that definitely is one of those things because you're expending so much energy in order to like make something work, and if you're expending energy for something futile, like what's the point? You might as well break it off in general.
Hey, shout out to all the people who do make long distance relationships work. That shit does not look easy. So
no, and coming from a person who's done it, it's really not fun. It's not fun if you're not in a very like mature relationship, like between people who are mature and can talk. Like who can communicate well and do everything really well together.
Yeah, well, a lot of relationships starting out or in early stages are almost entirely based on proximity. I feel this has been like a passing thought that I've had in my mind before, but like a lot of people like college or high school relationships, that's the easiest example I can think of. They all happen because they see each other almost every day or X amount of times a week.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they're outside of that field, once people graduate high school or once people graduate college and then go back to their hometowns, a lot of those relationships don't end up lasting because they're not around each other as much.
Yeah. And so that's where I feel like, well, and this is interesting, but like having like technology that keeps you like in the idea or psychologically close to that person is an interesting way of developing those like and developing that sort of culture where like proximity really determines a lot of things. Because when you have that texting ability and you've now got Snapchat, you've got things that track locations like or texting in general or Skype even or FaceTime, you sort of make up for that lack of proximity by having those things that sort of give the impression of proximity, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's like a better example than FaceTime, where you're literally like with someone in the room without being with someone in the room?
Yeah, until we can give each other astral projections like in Star Wars.
Soon, man, soon. Hey,
Peter's back.
Too much Red Bull, though.
Oh, boy.
Did you puke and rally?
Big 10.
Dude, I was a puke and rallier. Actually, in that conversation earlier about when you were puking, I was going to say that.
I wasn't puking, though.
No, I know, but I was just going to say, for me, the puke and rally is dependent on what I drank. If I puke while I was drinking hard liquor and stuff, I think that's when I'm done. But if it's like a beer puke, then I'm a puke and rally.
I gotta tell you guys something, though.
For sure.
I feel that.
Hey, I'm definitely
for anyone who listened, that was the conversation we had about how like all the things we've done before.
Yeah,
and
we were
stuff
talking
like
about
that.
that earlier.
Dude, okay, real talk though. When I'm in college, if you guys like continue to do the podcast, if anyone listens, I will listen because like it's the squad back.
Dude, yeah, we're gonna do this.
What if we could? I wonder if I could do it while I'm over there.
I mean, if
we
you
just call you, and
that'd be fun.
record and then email me.
It'll be like a way we could just like chill together.
Yeah,
you know. So me and my roommates, obviously like we went out and we were like pregame days. We drank a lot. But like while we were waiting in the car to leave, I just pressed record and I was like, I set it in my hand and I was like, they don't know that I'm recording. Yeah. And so now I have it on my, like low key, like that next hour of us like just chatting.
That's an invasion of privacy.
Just kidding. From our roommates, funniest thing of like talking, they didn't even know they recorded. And I was like, if I send this to them in like a year, dude, like that would be so golden, you know?
We talked about this before, but this is for me personally, it's acting kind of as like a time capsule for me in the future. What it is, right? So all this, so for all this
time
like,
capsule,
all this relationship talk, hey, future hot wife / girlfriend / fiance, here you go.
And for time traveling wise,
this is 23-year-old me
now. No, definitely not. But I think that's part of it too, you know. And I think like when we were talking about the inception of the podcast, it was kind of like at the base of it, it was just to capture like all the conversation we had, because we've always been able to talk. You know, we've been able to just do the hang, and it's great.
But when you can record it though, it's kind of like a little more fun, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, and I think like
it's some deep conversation.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Deep conversation.
Even when I go to take a shit for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, we can carry on the conversation.
No, and I think like here's one thing that I noticed about the first one we did. So last
did you listen to the episode 0?
So yeah, nice. so the last.
I put it out there.
Where's it on?
It's on the channel. We call it actually no on YouTube. Our YouTube.
Yeah, so the YouTube. So we've got a name, and we didn't tell you about it. The name of the cast is Actually Nothing.
I'm probably not
because even. That's what we talked about.
You're not in episode 0.
You know, it's just like we're not talking.
Well, there were parts of you in there, but I cut them out.
Yeah,
I was like, I shouldn't include this.
But so I think the name came up.
I kept this rolling though.
The name kept up because we don't really talk about anything. It's just
okay, so like happens, if we had something over call like once a week, and then we actually had like when I came back in town and we all reunited, that'd be so fun, dude.
No, that's actually so. You know this. You know, I think that's a great idea, and we can set it up. This can all just be like struck, right? Yeah, you can just like edit it out.
Yeah, Aaron, just edit this one out too.
Yeah, future me, edit this out. Ready? Stop it right here. Aaron, now you can put it back in the conversation. Okay.
So I think for anyone who eventually listens to this, or if anyone ever does, you know, feel free to like send a message to like, you know, Aaron or I on
friends,
the channel.
Our personal friends. If you want us to talk about something, let us know.
No, seriously. And if you think that we need to touch more on a specific topic, you know, I'm very happy to touch more on it, do a little more.
Or if you guys just want to know more about us in certain aspects, just ask, because we're just doing this to put us out there because it's fun.
And this is a fun thing for us. It's a fun project, and I think the more conversation and the more discourse we get going on, you know, this sort of level between us and the people we have on the show, and then anyone else who follows and wants to be a part of it in that sort of way, I think the better. You know, and we depend on discourse as like people and as a community to work and function. So the more discourse, the better.
Yeah, so that means we're totally down to have other people on this too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told a few people about this before, and they're like, "This seems interesting." So I'm not opposed to somebody. If any of you guys that I know want to join in on this, feel free.
So send like any requests for conversations and anything you want to hear. We will be happy to talk about it in more detail and voice your opinions. Or
if you want to be here physically and want to hang out with us,
let us
have
know.
A couple of drinks.
We're always down for the hang. Alcohol is always on us.
we stay up really late, so you might fuck up your sleep schedule, but you know.
That's just part of the hang. That's just part of the chemistry.
That's us.
That's part of the vibe you get with Actually Nothing, because that's all we talk about.
We talk about Actually Nothing. You know, when I made that and I looked it up, even now, if you look it up on your phone and you just put in Actually Nothing, like, we're obviously not at the top, but it's because YouTube or the Google search algorithm like changes it to actually space nothing, so then we don't show up, and then it's just like a bunch of random videos.
Damn it.
And there's also this other channel that's like Nothing Actually, and I think they're like a cover band. They only have like 7 videos, and they're like some random cover band somewhere, but
we're not the cover band.
We're not the cover band.
Can be a cover band if you want us to.
There was some other like really young Let's Player kid who was trying to make it too, and it's like something nothing, so we're not him either. Our logo is a pair of thick frame glasses with AN on it. So look up Actually. Well, actually, that doesn't make any sense. If you're listening to this already, that means you found it. So that's pointless.
In any case, we're not the band. We're a cast.
We're not the band. We're not the Let's Players. We're not the other dead channels yet. Maybe we'll join them. We'll be among those graveyard channels eventually, but we're not. Hey, Dan.
What's up?
This is just us signing off.
We're signing off?
Are we signing off now?
I think it's time to sign off.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I think we need to have a sign off thing.
I like just ending it spontaneous.